If you know me in real life or you follow me on Twitter, you probably know that I have this love-hate relationship with the MCU's version of Spider-Man. More hate than love. Just hate. I figured it was about time I hopped on here and at least tried to justify my opinion. I understand that in order to do a true deep dive of this franchise, I should probably talk about the first two films that come before it, but honestly, I don't know if I can suffer through Far From Home again, and No Way Home just gets more clicks. One thing that I want to make extremely clear up front is that I think this is a pretty mediocre film, but a bad Spider-Man film. I know that might be kind of confusing, but it's a clarification that I think is necessary. I love Spider-Man and I grew up on the comics, so I have this mental list of bias checkpoints that I believe every good Spider-Man story needs. I know this is super nitpicky, but it's a clarification that I want to have up front. Hot take! It's been 5 years and Jon Watts still doesn't know how to shoot Spider-Man. The films are always so reliant on trippy, distracting visuals to make up for underwhelming web-slinging. It feels like the inclusion of Mysterio and Doctor Strange are only there to naturally include trippy visuals. I hate to compare Watts' Spider-Man to Raimi's or to Webb's, but look at shots of Andrew and Toby swinging. Jon Watts can do it. He's an incredibly talented director. He just doesn't have the confidence to do it without using CGI as a safety net. I fear the industry is becoming so reliant on CG that practical effects are fading away. This is more of a critique of the MCU in general, but I am so exhausted by lifeless CG backgrounds. I know it's hard, I know it takes a lot of work, I know there's a huge crew that needs to be involved, but look at Mark Webb's Spider-Man. Backlot. Backgrounds help ground the scene, set the mood, and help the audience grab onto the atmosphere. When an entire film is shot on a green screen backlot, it just makes it feel emotionless and empty. Okay, let's talk about the story. It's kind of mixed for me. The first hour or so sucks. It's bad. It's awful. Peter gets framed for the murder of Mysterio. Murder. We don't get to see how this is resolved at all. We have one throwaway scene that half-ass explains what happened and is really just an overcomplicated way to get a Charlie Cox cameo. The scene really adds nothing. In all honesty, I would have preferred if Jon Favreau just stared at the camera and said, "Oi, oi, it's me, Jon Favreau. Did you know that Daredevil is now able to stream on Disney+? Are you sitting on your ass right now wondering who this guy is? Go watch Daredevil, now streaming exclusively on Disney+. Those guys at Netflix can suck my dick. We own Daredevil now. I'm Jon Favreau." Somehow Peter gets cleared of all charges, and before you have time to stop and question the legitimacy of the New York legal system, we're already on to our next plot point. College. Little baby Peter was a bit upset he didn't get into MIT because he was tried for murder. Peter decides that the most logical and rational thing to do is to convince the wizard to brainwash the entire world into forgetting who he is. Doctor Strange forgets all character growth he's ever had in any of these films and decides to do it. "Hey man, are you trying to help make people forget about me?" "Yeah, I don't know, mate. That kind of seems like a bad idea." "Yeah, maybe don't do that. There could be serious repercussions." "Fuck that guy. Meet me downstairs." I can't for the life of me understand why Strange does this, but whatever, fuck it, he does. Surprise, surprise, movie happens, the plot thickens, and now everyone that knows Peter's identity from other universes come into our universe. Also, Jamie Foxx is here too. Electro didn't know Peter's identity. I don't know why they bring this up at the end of the film. This is talked about. Big Pete goes to the college admissions counselor for MIT like the rational kid he is and tries to get him and his friends another chance. Before he's able to state his case, oopsies, Doc Ock is here. They start to fight for a bit, and then Peter's microbot suit controls the arms. I hate this. What is this? This has to be the laziest and most upsetting hero-villain fight from any MCU project I've ever seen. In all honesty, I can't believe that this was kept in the final script. It's so plot convenient that immediately all weight and danger from this character is just stripped away. The wizard gives Peter a new glove, and he goes to gather and collect all the villains. Collectively, they figure out they're gonna die if they get sent home, and Peter thinks this is inhumane. This leads us to the third goal of the film: save the villains. And I actually really like this. I like the concept of Peter unconditionally caring for the villains and not wanting them to die. Peter knows he has the power to send them back and try to get his life back on track again, but realizes he isn't in a position to play judge and executioner and takes the responsibility of caring for them before sending them home. This does, however, retcon the endings of these characters from their own movies. Otto died a hero, sacrificing himself, saving New York. Kurt saves Peter, realizing that he can't accomplish his mission of protecting humanity with his lizard arm. It takes his human arm. All of these characters have completed stories and are just brought back for fan service. There are hundreds of Spider-Man antagonists, and selfishly, I wish the writers decided to use one of them, instead of bringing back old villains to reopen new arcs. Two of the main villains weren't able to film and had old footage reused from their original movies. Lizard is such an iconic character and wasn't used at all for the story and was locked in the back of a van for half the movie. This new phase of Marvel movies is so reliant on cameos that it feels like they pick the cameo and then build a movie around that. You see people base their entire opinion of the film on whether or not a cameo rumor was true or not. Multiverse of Madness was the best Marvel movie ever. Mr. Fantastic made that movie. Deadpool wasn't in Multiverse of Madness. I don't understand why they can't just give the fans what they want. Shut up! Shut the fuck up! Both of you. I just miss the days when movies were made with a purpose. Now it just feels like a really elaborate corporate money-making machine that doesn't have a justified reason for existence. So many of the good parts of the film are cut short. How many of you remember Flash Thompson? Flash has so much potential to be an amazing character. He made it into MIT. Ned and MJ didn't. Flash is a published author talking about how close of friends he is with Peter. There's such a good story there, and all of it just gets rushed. The villains are against the idea of getting cured. There's such a good story to be told about why Peter gets to play God and treat them like lab rats. There's a deleted scene in The Amazing Spider-Man that talks about this.
I had to get a place off the grid.
Gotcha.
That changing like the snake, I might be free to cast off flesh wherein I dwell confined. Who said that?
Michelangelo, right?
A man who knew a bit about reshaping raw materials.
Yeah.
I try to fix myself, but it's impossible.
Hey, I'm gonna get you back.
Would you go back? After all you know you can do, all the power you feel, would you give it all up?
This is a theme I've wanted in a Spider-Man film for almost 10 years, and could have been perfect for this film. Norman doesn't want to be someone else's lab rat and frees the villains, blowing up the building and kills Aunt May. Hear me out. I know everyone was sad about her death, but I just wasn't. We know close to nothing about Aunt May as a character, and have no reason to feel anything towards her death. I wasn't sad that Aunt May died. I was sad that we'll never have the chance to have such an iconic character in this franchise. I'm all in favor for a single mother story. I also didn't mind that she said the iconic quote, but the way we got it just felt shallow and underwhelming, as if Marvel just wanted to check a box. So instead of leaving the audience touched and empowered, it felt me feeling unsatisfied and scammed. Peter is at his lowest point, and we finally get to see his life collapse as a direct consequence to his actions. Peter thought he could have everything, but the notorious Parker Luck had other plans. I love how we just sit and dwell on Peter's grief, and we really get to see how much this is affecting him. This starts the last act of the movie, which I really like. Andrew and Toby are in this movie. Andrew and Toby are in this movie! Childlike enthusiasm rushed over me the first time I saw them step out of the portals. It's kinda stupid how Ned randomly gets magic, especially when we see how much time Stephen puts in the first Doctor Strange movie. Also, I notice every time a legacy character appears on screen for the first time, the editors left a couple of seconds as if they were expecting us to clap. It's a trend I'm seeing all across Marvel projects, and it's really distracting. So, Kevin, stop it. It was, however, really nice to see Toby and Andrew back on the big screen. After Spider-Man 4 was cancelled and Andrew got fired from The Amazing Spider-Man 3, it was really nice to see these two finally get the closure that they deserve. I also thought their characters were done almost perfectly. I just had the feeling of catching up with old friends. To my knowledge, Mark Webb and Sam Raimi weren't super involved in this project, and I was worried that that would show with the way Andrew and Toby were written. Thankfully, this was not the case at all. They were both as charming as ever. I always associate Toby's Spider-Man with a near-perfect adaptation of the original Stan Lee, Steve Ditko era of comics, and Andrew's Spider-Man with a more ultimate line. Seeing them all interact was super fun, and I enjoyed just seeing them talk. From a story perspective, Tom is constantly finding someone to fill a father void. Tony, Happy, and now the two Peters. But I do wish he found himself. I still feel like MCU Peter isn't truly Spider-Man yet. I like making the argument that Toby didn't really become Spider-Man until Spider-Man 2, when he finds himself and the meaning of Spider-Man. Andrew didn't become Spider-Man until the scene on the bridge with Jack, almost an hour and a half into the film. Tom just hasn't had that selfless hero moment yet. And I think that's the reason that Andrew Garfield is my favorite. He isn't in the best Spider-Man movies, far from it, but I do think he excels in those hero moments. I am beyond grateful that No Way Home gave Andrew Garfield a second chance. The Amazing Spider-Man was always looked at fairly negatively, but after No Way Home dropped, everyone was talking about how great Andrew Garfield is as Spider-Man. It was really nice seeing people talk about him on Twitter or Instagram and just falling in love with the character the same way I did. I've watched this film several times, and I can honestly say there's only one thing that bothers me concerning Toby and Andrew.
So, do you have a best friend too?
I did.
You did?
He died in my arms after he tried to kill me. It's heartbreaking.
This statement is true, but Harry redeemed himself. He helped Peter save New York, and I just find it hard to believe that this is how Peter would respond. Andrew and Toby agree to help cure and send the villains home. They all meet at the Statue of Liberty for the big CGI climax battle. First, I really wish that Tom was wearing a different suit. This series is just full of bad suits for Tom. It would have fit better and looked nicer with the other Spider-Man if he was wearing his homecoming suit, or even his Far From Home suit. I guess I can't be too upset, however. It could always be worse. I hate the look of the Iron Spider suit. It's by far the grossest looking suit, especially looking at comic-accurate versions of this suit, or even concept art. Anything would look better than this. Also, Tom wins the Nickelodeon's Kids' Choice Award and gets slime all over his suit. Little man is so embarrassed that he turns it inside out. That's it. That's the only reason for this suit's existence. And the only reason that this insignificant plot point made the final cut is so Disney could make toys and more merchandise sales from it. I'm used to Disney making characters for the sole purpose of turning them into toys, but this just felt extra scummy. Overall, the pros and cons kind of balance each other out in this film and makes it kind of mediocre in my mind. And I'm grateful for the first time in a while, I'm actually really excited to see where this character goes. I guess Marvel was so unhappy with where the character was going, they had to have a one more day style reset. But I don't know. Do you agree with me? Cool. Do you disagree? That sucks. There's no more dislike button. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want, because bigger number equals better person.